Welcome back, everybody, to the Too High McFly Movie Podcast. We thank you guys for tuning in and making us your podcast today. My name is Kevin Lyons.
Daniel de Sangre.
Mike Candelet.
Jose Ramos.
And this weekend, Spider-Man Far From Home opened up, directed by John Watts, starring Tom Holland and Zendaya and a whole bunch of awesome characters from the MCU. We're really excited about this movie. It's the first Marvel movie after Endgame, and it's officially closing out the Phase 3 of the MCU, and we're going to be moving into Phase 4. So we're going to be talking about that. We're going to break down the movie, and we're going to give you guys our rankings of all the Spider-Man movies, live action and animated so far, and then our final thoughts and ratings. But before we hit the music, we're just going to give you guys a quick non-spoiler review of what we thought of Spider-Man Far From Home. So who wants to go first? Do we like this movie or what, guys?
Yeah.
It was really good.
That's a very unenthusiastic
I know.
I'm currently in a food coma.
I was slightly content with it.
He's slightly content, you sarcastic bastard. I loved this movie. I really did. I think I liked it the most out of all of us. No, me and Minnie, you were tied.
Yeah.
We both gave this a high ranking. I was at like a 9. Where are you at?
I'm about like 8.5.
Yeah.
8.
You know, I really enjoyed it. It had me entertained throughout it. The acting was good. It was funny throughout the whole movie.
Yeah.
The action was also really good. Kept your attention. There wasn't many complaints coming out at the end of this movie. So
It really had a smile on my face throughout the whole movie. Like, that's how good it was. That's like I was a little bit nervous because I liked Homecoming, but it wasn't amazing as I was hoping it would be. But Michael Keaton was great in that one.
I feel like with this one they really got the MJ and the Peter Parker chemistry right.
Oh my god, it's my favorite that's ever been on screen.
Mm-hmm.
That was really good. They knocked it out of the park. And it was funny.
Yeah,
I couldn't
big
believe
time.
it. It was way funnier than the last movie too. This movie was really funny.
Yeah, I feel like they really stepped up the comedy, and it felt very much like a comedy movie.
Yeah.
Like it had the comedy tropes in there, it had the comedy beats. They did a really good job with it.
Because it was a weird scenario for a lot of them too. Because it opened up, they all got blipped, and then they come back, and everyone who didn't get blipped is now it's like younger brothers are now the same age as them. It's like,
Yeah, this is a non-spoiler part of the review, Minnie. We're not talking about that yet. But
no, but it is good. I like the fact that it was so light and funny throughout because, you know, we're just coming out of Endgame where it just like tears your heart out.
A lot of drama. A lot of drama.
Yeah, a lot of drama. So the fact that this one from beginning to end was very light, kept you laughing, kept you smiling. It was a good change from the last one we had to deal with.
yeah, exactly. The last MCU movie,
Yes.
not just the last Spider-Man movie.
No,
Because Spider-Verse came out
the
not too
last
long
MCU.
ago. Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, absolutely. You're right. It was a lot of fun. It felt like a John Hughes movie, like how they said the last movie, Homecoming,
supposed
when it was supposed to be like the John Hughes type of Breakfast Club, and you got some of that, but it was laid on thick in this movie, and
Big
it
time.
really worked. And that's
Even-
my favorite part is all the chemistry with the characters.
Even the teachers in this, Martin Starr and JB Smoove, like even their dialogue and their interactions with the kids, it was hilarious. It felt very shticky, but like in a good way. You know what I mean? It felt very comedy, but it was good, man. I liked it. Very
sticky.
well written.
Yeah, it was very sticky.
Very sticky.
All right, guys. Anything else non-spoiler you guys want to get into before we break this whole
Yeah,
thing
no,
down?
it's just hard not to spoil
I
anything.
know.
So yeah, I think that's good.
All right.
Let's just zip right through it.
Happy, hit the music. Spider-Man Far From Home came out. We saw it, and we are now getting into spoilers. So if you guys haven't seen Spider-Man Far From Home yet, go check it out and come back and join us in because we're getting into spoilers right now. So guys, the movie opens up with Nick Fury and Maria Hill. They're driving through Mexico, and it's kind of cool because you know how they did the Columbia Pictures interview, like all the things in the beginning of the movie, all the different logos, and they did something that they did in Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. Do you remember like the Paramount had the mountain and and then it faded into like a mountain in the movie that was on that big shrine thing in the restaurant. They did that, but with like looks like the Virgin Mary with the Columbia Pictures, you know.
Oh, yeah.
And they were in Mexico, and Nick Fury and Maria Hill are driving into a city that looks like it's been destroyed, and they're talking about how there was just like a big giant tornado, basically.
The cyclone with a face.
The cyclone with a face, and they're investigating what's going on, and then that's when Mysterio comes in. We meet Mysterio, and he's like, "What do you guys? You guys might not want to be here for this." And that's when the big hurricane thing comes back, and then it goes right into the credits.
No, Rock Monster.
The Rock Monster.
Yeah, it sounded so unheroic the way he said that. You guys might not want to be here.
Oh, yeah.
And he's there doing the spirits like, come on, man, sound a little more like a badass.
Yeah,
but it does kind of make sense, towards
Because
the end of the movie.
it does.
I will say I thought that was going to be a stronger scene than it was. I mean, like when it was going on, I was like, yes. But as soon as like Mysterio's about to fight, it goes to the credits. Like, oh man, I want a high octane action scene in the first scene that we were gonna get. So, what'd you guys think of the introductory shot of Jake Gyllenhaal?
No, I thought it was good, and like I said, I do agree with you. In the moment, it sounded like, okay, it doesn't really sound like too much of a hero.
Yeah.
But as you find out more of the story, it does make sense. So in hindsight, the scene worked better.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's kind of exactly what we talked about. So I've only seen the movie one time. So the first time watching it, one of my issues was with Jake Gyllenhaal, how he's, when he was, this is spoiler talk, but when he was the good guy, it just seemed very cheap. It didn't feel as organic. Later, we find out the twist on the movie. Then it makes more sense. So I feel like if I watch it a second time, maybe it won't bother me as much.
Okay.
But just his acting felt kind of cheap in the first scene. So,
I mean, he's kind of a cheap actor. He just looks good. And, like, that's why people hire him.
Yeah.
See, I like him as an actor. That I can't agree. I think
Like
he's a good
Nightcrawler,
actor.
he was good in.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was good
in
in Nightcrawler,
Yeah.
but it's just,
Sometimes he's been cheap on some stuff.
sometimes it feels like they're trying to force A-list actors into superhero roles, and it's just like, oh no, I'd rather not.
Like
But I like
Tatum.
Jake Gyllenhaal. He's all right. All right, and then after that, we get into the memorandum of Tony Stark and all of them, but with
The high school production company.
yeah, with the Whitney Houston and I will.
And even
That
when he
was
gives
so
a shout
funny.
out to the guy that made it,
Yeah.
it's so cheap.
It's like the high school video, like the
Yeah.
high school AV club is back, and they're explaining what the
blip.
MCU is called the decimation. That's what the Russo brothers were calling the snap, but now in Spider-Man they're calling it the blip. And I gotta say, the blip is a way better name
Yeah,
it sounds
than the
funny.
decimation.
Oh yeah, decimation sounds
Because
so
it works better
serious.
like, hey, you got blipped instead of you got decimated.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
If you got blips, sounds like you just died in a video game, though,
Yeah.
doesn't it?
Yeah, I liked how they showed it too, because they were at like a high school game and the marching band was in the field. All of a sudden, you
Yeah.
see them get blipped out, and then it's like 5 years later in the middle of a basketball game, then they get blipped back in, and they all running into each other. It was so funny how they decided to deal with that
Yeah.
awkward 5-year gap. I mean, like it felt like it was like continue the next story, and the person before you just completely fucked up your game, and it's just like, oh god, how are we gonna explain all these kids still being the same age? They all got blipped out, but they had fun with it, so I can appreciate that.
Yeah, and also when you hear that they got blipped, I just think of the water drop sound effect. Like,
Yeah.
That was funny. So they're talking about everybody's blipped back into existence, and I think they're like, well, where did the Tony Stark's gone? What do we even do if there's another attack? Like, what's the plan? And then it hard cuts right to Tom Holland, Peter Parker talking to him. It's like, I got a plan, and that's when they're talking about the whole trip over to Europe that they're going to, and that was like, I don't know, man. Just the first couple of lines of dialogue. I love their first interaction was them going over Peter's plan to tell Mary Jane to MJ how he feels. I really like that scene between him and Ned.
Just before that, during the whole in memoriam thing, one of the photos that was up there that they think is dead is Captain America.
No, Captain America wasn't up there.
Yeah, it was. It was
Yeah,
Captain
it showed him
America,
second.
Iron Man, and Black Widow were
Are you
on
sure?
there. So
Yeah, positive.
because he
He
went
was
back
the
in
second
time
one.
and he disappeared, they think that Captain America is dead now
Yeah.
in that world.
Probably.
Yeah. That was
But
interesting.
anyway,
You're right.
yeah, that scene with him and Ned trying to figure out his plan
Yeah.
over there was really cool. I liked it.
Yeah.
It was fun. It was a fun way to get them, just to get that feeling of those best friends again. It was really cool.
It was, and it just immediately you're right back into like high school stuff, and it's
Yeah.
like it's kind of reminding us. Yes, he just did Endgame and all that, really sad stuff. How the stakes were raised. now we're right back to high school again. And it was so important that they caught the tone of this is the tone of the movie. So that scene was important.
And then MJ walks up to them, and she really brought the quirkiness to her own character in this one. I mean, in the last movie that she was in, she seemed like just like quiet, cool, a little bit awkward. This one, she felt more nervous. Yeah, and that's what I really liked about it.
Like if we use the Breakfast Club reference, she's very much like Ali Sheedy.
Yeah,
you know what I mean, like very awkward in the first one, and in this one, it was Ali Sheedy in the second half of Breakfast Club, when she starts
a little bit
up
insecure, and she's just like, oh my god, like you could just see their chemistry together.
Yeah, exactly.
It was just like, I don't know, it was just really cool. You instantly fall in love with these characters. Like, I just want them to be together. Please just be together. They're so socially awkward. It's great. And so we got a little bit of that, and then
we got the fundraiser.
Yeah, the fundraiser with Aunt May and Spider-Man.
Hey, that's when you start seeing him getting overwhelmed and a little bit of the effect that everything had on him.
Well, before that, I liked it how it opened up when they're at the fundraiser and everybody's just quiet in the audience and like, in Spider-Man, everybody's like, yay! He's like, woo! It was just like that kind of like social awkwardness. I just thought was kind of funny.
Even when he's just standing there, hi, and he sounds like so young.
So
kid.
awkward. You would figure, oh, Spider-Man's there. Everybody would be cheering. It's just like I think they really fed in on that awkward stage of being in high school really well. That was cool.
It does, and I felt like that's what they really tapped well with Tom Holland being Spider-Man, because one thing to keep in mind is that Peter Parker didn't want these powers, right? They just came to him. He was this nerdy kid. He's just trying to figure his way out in the world. That was it. I feel like Tom Holland is still very much that personality. Just because he's Spider-Man now, and even though he helped defeat Thanos, he's still this really immature kid that has no confidence whatsoever. So it still feels fresh to him and young and awesome. People know who I am. People recognize me. That's awesome.
He's not ready to take on the mantle. He just wishes that somebody was that he could look up to and show the way, but now it's on his shoulders. So after that fundraiser thing, they go backstage, and that's where we see Happy, and we kind of get a hint that Happy and Aunt May got something going on. It's really awkward, and we see his blip beard. I love that was funny. And that's when we find out that Nick Fury's trying to get a hold of Spider-Man. Yeah, and he's like, no, I'm going on. I need a vacation. I need to go. And he's like, don't go with Nick Fury and stuff. And then he decides he's like, I'm not going to answer this. And he goes out onto the stage, and that's when we get to see that he's like, we actually visually see that he's overwhelmed. All these people are surrounding him, like reporting, and they're just like, hey, like, are you the new Tony Stark? And he's just like, yeah, ooh, this is too much, and he just whips out of there. And I actually liked where they were going with that. I thought that was a really good choice to focus on his character in this movie. So after that, he's getting ready to go overseas. He's packing up, and we kind of see that they finally decide to acknowledge the Spidey sense in this movie, and they call it the Peter Tingle. Although when I heard a report about that, I was just like, oh man, they calling it the Peter Tingle? Nah. But then when they use it in the movie, you're like, okay, it's funny. It's because they don't know what to call it.
No, and it's funny that Aunt May's the one that came up with this. It sounds so much like it's related to puberty.
Yeah.
Because that's all she can associate with the Peter
it came
Tingles.
from his aunt, and he didn't like it from the beginning.
Exactly.
That's what made it work.
Yeah.
He was just embarrassed.
And I like it because it still shows that he doesn't have a good grip on all of his powers yet. I mean, like, some of them are still like kind of relatively new, because in Homecoming they never hinted at any type of spider sense, and it was only kind of brought up in Endgame when he was on the bus, and all of a sudden you see his hair on his arm stick up, and then he looks at his hair, and then he sees a spaceship outside. It's like, okay, maybe this is a new ability, and I like it that he's been Spider-Man for a while, and he's still discovering new abilities. I thought that was kind of cool.
Well, I thought it was cool in here was that you see in the corner, in this little containment, you see his advanced suit.
Yeah.
And it's just there, like, all high tech and stuff. And then you just see his little floppy old suit.
Yeah.
Like, hanging on the...
Yeah. Deciding which one to pack.
Yeah.
I was thinking about that. How does, like... Because it was in his new high-tech Iron Spider suit.
Yeah.
It was in a glass case, and it was just floating in particles.
It's nanotech.
I know it's nanotech, but I'm like, that's crazy. Because Tony Stark had it. It was just like the arc reactor on his chest, and he could peel it off. I wonder why it's in that box like that, displayed like that. I wonder if it's like some type of charging technique or something. I don't know.
It might be, or that's just maybe the form when he doesn't have it on him. Maybe it's different to transport. You put it into some other device for it to come out.
That's crazy. I don't know. I just want to, maybe you just want to know more about it because it looked cool.
Yeah.
So, all right. So he's on the plane. he's getting to the plane. They're going over to Europe, and this is one of my favorite scenes in the movie when you see Peter and his best friend Ned sitting down in the seats, and Ned's got this plane. He's like, "Yo, we're gonna be bachelors in Europe." He's like, "This is gonna be great."
American bachelors.
Yeah, American bachelors
because
in
apparently
Europe.
they love us.
Yeah, they love us, and more than half of them are women.
Yeah.
That's what I was like, where is he getting this math? But it was great, and Peter's just like, hey man, I need your help to get me to sit next to Mary Jane in the airplane. And I was just like, ooh, I'm like, I think I like where this is going. And then just seeing like Ned going to go complain to Betty, who's sitting next to her, and he's just like, Peter's got an allergy to perfume. And then the teacher finds out, and it just fucks up the plan even more. And it just like even puts MJ closer to the guy that he doesn't want her to go.
Which we haven't
next
talked
to.
about, Brad.
Brad, yeah, he got blipped as a kid. Well, we started to.
No,
He
didn't get
didn't get blipped. So
No,
he's
no,
older.
yeah,
So
during the blip.
he grew 5 years and was now the same age as
them,
grade, yeah.
because he was like a little kid a
Yeah.
little neighborhood kid. And now he's all grown up and he's kind of like good looking. All the girls like him and stuff, and that's like his competition. And I liked bringing that into this. You know, that obstacle. Not only does he like MJ, there's another guy who's kind of into her, and he's like that competition type of feeling. It's just, I don't know, man. It was fun to see. It was satisfying to see them
Very
on the plane.
necessary. Very necessary. I felt like.
Yeah,
You know,
it felt
you
like
needed
it felt like those '80s like
Yeah.
comedies. It felt like a John Hughes movie.
almost
That's what I loved
like
about
16 Candles, right? Like you have the I can't think of his name right
John
now.
Cusack?
Yeah, no, not John Cusack.
Oh.
With 16 Candles, but you know, either way, she has like the guy that she likes and the nerdy little kid.
it. Yeah,
That's
Anthony C. Hall.
Yeah, there you go.
Is that what, Anthony Michael Hall?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Anthony Michael.
What I liked about this is it set up the main conflict for Peter throughout the movie is his childhood stuff. You know, he's a kid. He's all about MJ, really likes her, so it's that regular childhood crush and all of that stuff. And then the stuff that's supposed to be beyond him, but because he has powers, his responsibility to saving the earth and saving others. And that was the main conflict driving this movie, is creating a balance between both of those. When one has brought him all this pain, another one seems like the happier one, and he's being drawn back to the responsibility.
Yeah, that was a really good arc for this movie. I mean, because I like how he acknowledged it. He goes, man, I didn't think I was going to have to save anybody this summer. And I know that makes me sound awful, but like, and I don't know, I just like that because he acknowledged it. He goes, I know it sounds bad, but like, goddamn, it's like too hard for him. He's a kid. You know what I mean?
And he's not used to having a job, man. Like he's not used to committing to something like that. He's not used to working. You know what I mean? So think about that. He's saving the world. He's doing all these dangerous things, and it's like he's still a kid, though. He still wants to do kid things.
Because even when he set his mind to being a hero, he didn't set it for this scale. Like he says, like all the time, he's like, "I'm a neighborhood Spider-Man."
Yeah.
And that does anybody have any neighborhood questions? Not
Yeah.
any over big Avengers questions. Yeah, and so, but yeah, they get to Europe and they get into their shitty ass hotel, and they decide to go start walking around, and that's when Peter goes to go. Part of his plan is to get that black dahlia flower, a glass blown black dahlia flower, because of the murder, because she's like into twisted shit.
Yeah.
You know, and they have another fun interaction, and that's when we get to see the villains come back, the Hydro Monster, the part of the elementals who are attacking the world. And it was really fun to see Peter in a situation where he doesn't have the suit, because especially in the MCU movies now, they're making it so easy for them to get their suits because it's all nanotech, starting with like Black Panther and like Iron Man with his more advanced tech. It was more simple for him just to immediately change into his costume.
Yeah, it's
And
not
it's just so like lazy writing. Not lazy writing. It's just like way too convenient because all he has to do is, a lot of them, they just have to think, and all of a sudden their suit is on them.
Or like Thor, who gets his beard braided just
Yeah.
by
Yeah.
hitting a
Yeah,
hammer.
I mean, it's cool for the moments where you're like, I don't want to have to explain that he had to go back and get his suit and all that stuff. But here, like, sometimes it's nice to have that conflict in the story, which they had here. Peter had to figure out how to save people without them seeing him, and he's like, I just thought that was really
he
cool.
found like a bizarre mask or something like that.
Yeah.
But he's still wearing the exact same clothes that he wore with the backpack still.
I did, but I gotta cover up my face.
Yeah. What
you
was
know?
in that backpack? I never showed what was in
I don't
that
know.
backpack.
Why
I
would?
thought
Yeah,
it
why
was
wouldn't he
his
have a suit
costume.
with him? If
That's what I thought it was.
Well, because
But-
he didn't want to bring it with him.
Yeah, I
Aunt
know.
May is the one that ended
Yeah.
up packing it up in the
Yeah,
suit.
but
just
but
weird
still,
that
if
he
you had it in your
yeah.
backpack, I mean, you have your backpack. Why nobody else
Yeah.
really? I don't. At least probably people had their backpacks with
But
them.
it was also they're in a foreign country. Like you're gonna want to get like he has plans to buy things for people. Like he's gonna want a place to put
It
them.
makes sense. It just seems odd because you could have just put it in your pocket. You know what I'm saying? Like you clearly had the backpack, and he didn't have it every time that they went out there. He just had it in that one scene that he wore it when they went.
But it's also-
He
it's
learned
also-
his lesson
yeah.
that scene.
Yeah, I
He's
guess
like,
so, yeah.
backpacks are not good
exactly.
for this.
Throwing off his equilibrium when he's jumping on the pillars.
But it also goes into his, his obstacle of not wanting to be Spider-Man for the summer.
Yeah.
I'm on vacation. I'm on vacation. That's why I didn't bring this suit with me. Ned was saying, like, where's your suit? It's in the hotel room. Why is it in the hotel room? I don't know.
Aunt May puts it right there on top of the suitcase. Like, come on, Aunt May.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
that's funny.
It was good.
She's so good.
And then Peter's doing his really cool job of holding up that building with the webs. And oh wait, did you notice that? Like how he got his web shooters on?
Yeah.
It was like that.
That
Iron
he
Man,
had with him.
Yeah.
That he had with him. It felt like it was. Do you remember in Iron Man 3 when Tony had that? He was able to put those things underneath his skin.
Yeah.
And he did those wrist movements, and then the suit would come to him. He kind of did that. I don't even think he threw it on. I remember him clicking his wrists together, and
Yeah,
all
it
of
was
a
like
sudden they just nanoteched over his wrists.
It was like he had something on one of his wrists. Like
must
might
have been a
like
watch.
a watch or something like that, and then he
Yeah.
hit that, and then
I think it
turned
was a
into
watch. Yeah.
Okay.
turned into the web shooters.
That's
There were a lot of parallels to him and Iron Man.
Yeah,
yeah.
it did.
Yeah.
So many parallels. It was fantastic.
Like a lot of the technology carried over to him. You
Yeah.
can tell, and they incorporated it.
What I thought was cool about this scene is that as Hydro is coming out in there, it just doesn't come at you really quick. It starts with just very subtle streaks in the water.
Yeah.
So it's like you as the audience notice it, but no one else notices. Like, wait, that doesn't look right in the water.
Yeah.
And then it gets a little bigger, and then shit goes down.
And you know what? I really like that all the elementals in this movie. I thought it was really cool. And I've talked to you guys about this, how I felt like it actually hindered some of the Spider-Man action, because I love seeing Spider-Man going like one-on-one, hand-on-hand with the villains, and to see him flip and kick people and then web them up. But with like the big monsters like that, like some of them, his webs weren't working, and he can't really like hit and kick the guys. But the sequences are amazing to watch. They're really cool. It's really cool to see. I just missed some of that hand-to-hand action combat that we were getting in some of the other movies.
And it does just kind of take away if your villain can't talk. You know what
Yeah.
I mean, like if there's no interaction and like there's no, there's just no dialogue going between.
Well,
them.
that part doesn't bother me as much, because I remember watching a lot of the Fleischer Superman cartoons from back in the day, and he was always fighting giant gorillas or robots that don't talk, and so, like, I think it's okay when they don't talk. I just miss that hand-to-hand combat. You know what I mean? Like in Endgame, the space dogs. The space dogs didn't talk, but they were having awesome fight sequences, just killing all the space dogs. You know what I mean?
Yeah, his action translated more into protection and damage control.
Yeah, which is cool.
in
Which
that.
is definitely
So
good.
The tower, buildings, things like that is where it translated for him.
Okay, I have a question for you guys. Okay, so the whole thing's we're obviously just gonna do spoiler talk, right?
Yeah.
So, you know how he's shooting and he catches the building and it's going down, and we find out later the whole thing's an illusion. So did that building not? Then what did he really?
So
No,
Shoot.
the destruction isn't an illusion.
Yeah, no.
It's
they
just
were
the-
setting off the bombs, right? Or
yeah, because
something,
if
that's
you
what-
remember flashing forward
Yeah.
when they're getting ready for that attack on London, he's upping the damage that they're doing.
the drone,
So
but
the
the
drones are
he got from
firing at the
glasses,
building.
though, didn't he?
The drones are firing at
the building,
No,
yeah.
he had his
Yeah.
own drones already. The glasses gave him access to all of the drones.
Oh,
Yeah.
but he actually had access to some of them.
To some of the
already.
drones
Got it.
because he was part of the team that built some of these things.
Yeah, and this is another thing you guys just made me think. They didn't immediately have access to those drones, right?
Not all of those.
Not all of those ones, but the ones that they did have access to, they had to update with the hologram technology.
Yeah.
All right, so yeah, spoilers. The monsters are all holograms, but the destruction was real.
Yeah.
So at the end of the movie, when he finally gets the glasses, how did he get all the satellites in space with the holographic cameras on there in time? Because remember the drones that he had from space, they didn't have access to those drones. But those drones never had the projectors, the holograph projectors on them.
Oh, he installed those themselves.
They had to install those themselves, like in their lab. That's what they were doing. I combined my holographic technology with your drone technology, but it wasn't all the drones in those satellites because they don't have access to those satellites.
I'm
So
wondering-
That
it's
is
their
true.
drones.
Unless they used the ones they had with the holographic
That's what
to
I'm
create
thinking.
the hologram, and the
you're
other ones
sep-
were within it, still
Yeah.
causing the damage.
That's
But they
what I
were.
was
Yeah,
gonna
they
say.
also said it was the largest monster that they made. You know, remember when it's like they weren't that big.
It was a deleted scene where they were installing all of the holographic
Yeah.
modules.
Yeah.
They had
That's
to cut
right.
out like 45 minutes of the movie
Yeah,
just in
exactly.
that.
Just in that. That was what
They
they
hired
missed
Quicksilver to come in and do it real quick.
All right, cool. So yeah, so Peter, I mean, he does what he can to save some of the building during the Hydro Monster, and that falls apart. And then, of course, Mysterio comes in and saves everybody. And so they're all back at the hotel watching Mysterio on TV, because people were filming it. And that's when they find out, oh, Mysterio, that's a cool name.
So it literally just means man of mystery. They don't know anything about him.
Yeah, they don't know anything about it, but it's still a cool name. It's like Mysterio. And so they're getting ready for bed, and that's when Nick Fury, he tranks Ned walking into the hotel room, and he's trying to get Spider-Man, which
he's
is also
out
a funny
quick.
scene because he's trying to explain all the things like, all right, here's like that part of the action movie when the main guy in charge is giving you the breakdown of what's going on, and everybody kept on interrupting the room, and he's just like holding the trank gun, and he's like, let's get out of here.
I swear, if one more person knocks on that door, we're visiting a hospital.
Yeah, no,
We're going to another funeral.
We're going to
Yeah.
another
We're going to
funeral.
another funeral.
Yeah, it was. I like their interactions right there. So he suits up and he's on the boat with Nick Fury, and Nick Fury hands him the Tony Stark glasses, and he's like, we found these, and these, Tony wanted you to have these, and it gives him access to all the satellites and everything, which felt a little strange. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, like all that type of like access to satellites and nuclear stuff, and it just seemed like so crazy. They were just in those glasses.
Well, yeah, I know it has. I'm not sure if there was nuclear stuff there, but yeah, he gave.
Could have. They get backdoors into every type of operating system. It said.
I mean, he gave him access to Jarvis, is what it was.
Yeah, he felt.
Only this time it was Edith.
Yeah, he felt enough about Peter Parker that he felt out of anyone, he's the one he couldn't trust.
Yeah.
With it.
I just find it. I know we've explained this a little bit. I just found it weird that Nick Fury had the glasses, but that could be explained.
Yeah.
Instead of Pepper Potts or
Yeah.
Happy having them, but whatever. I mean, you got to make it in the movie, and they're not going to have Happy, doing that scene.
Unless if they just felt like maybe he trusted Nick Fury in the sense where he would protect it. Like Happy's not really a fighter, so.
I think I was talking to Minnie. I think they stole it. They found it and they didn't tell it. Like, were they able to steal it and they couldn't access it, and they realized it was for Peter, and so they're trying to get Peter to access it. But anyway,
Well, no, because Happy knew about it.
Happy knew about
Yeah,
the
because
glasses.
he referenced him.
Yeah.
That's so weird. Oh
Yeah.
well, they did show that they didn't like have dialogue that Happy and Nick Fury were talking at least somewhat. So
Yeah.
I can see that, I guess. All right, so Nick Fury brings Spider-Man into their cool little like bat cave that they have over there, and he meets Maria Hill and Mysterio, which is what was his name in the movie? Beckett.
Quentin Beck.
Quentin Beck. And he's telling him about the multiverse. And when we saw this in the trailers, we were totally stoked. That I'm like, oh man, this is a multiverse. I wonder if that's how they're gonna do, the Fantastic Four
X-Men.
or the X-Men. Ooh, that's kind of cool. And then, like, of course, throughout the movie, later on, we find out that it was all bullshit. It's like, oh god damn it, there's no fucking
Yeah.
multiverse anymore. What the hell?
It still could be. We just haven't revealed it yet.
Yeah, it was a writer that made it up.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, like they went very specific with it, like naming the actual multiverse numbers accurately to like fool us.
Because in one of the Thor movies, the professor that Thor is friends with, he had all the stuff written on the board, and it said 616.
Yep.
As part of as our dimension. So they must have known. I don't know. That's kind of crazy.
I wonder how, though. How do they find that specific number out? But I don't know.
No, that's below our pay grade, Daniel.
Yeah.
We're not allowed to know.
Yeah.
And so so they're trying to get them to help with the elementals. They destroyed Quentin Beck's world, and now they're transferred in here, and they got to stop it. And Peter Parker's just like, I can't. I'm like, I'm in high school. I'm just like, this is too much responsibility for me. And not only that, my friends can see me. Like if I bust out my Spider-Man suit there, that people are gonna start being like, oh, well, you know what? Spider-Man's probably in that debate team that traveled over there.
Yeah, it mentions the Washington incident.
Yeah.
And it was like, I was there, and then Spider-Man showed up, and now I'm here, and Spider-Man shows up. Like, they're going to be able to figure it out.
Yeah, and I mean, it's of course they kind of figured it out. I'm surprised they didn't figure it out in the last movie. You know what I mean? But whatever.
Because he had the man behind the computer.
That's right, the man in the chair, Ned.
Ned.
And so Fury's just like, all right, fuck it, yeah, go back. So we don't need you. See ya. And so they go back. He goes back to his hotel, and the next day they find out that their trip has been changed, and they're going to Prague now. He's like, what the hell?
They got upgraded.
And then
The
like
bus driver
the bus
is one of
driver is
the
the guy
guys.
who is the Shield agent
Yeah.
guy. Oh, Nick Fury's agent guy who dropped him off the night before. It's like, God damn it, Nick Fury hijacked our field trip. It was kind of cool because even though he declined, they said no, and he's like, okay, I guess I'm just gonna do it anyway.
Yeah.
Because when they get to their destination, they find out that they have, they made Peter Parker a new stealth suit, like halfway to their Prague, and that whole funny scene when the bus driver's like, go. He points over to the bathroom. You see the girl over there, and he's like, okay, I'm supposed to go over there, and she's like, take off your clothes. It was such a funny scene for like not just like a superhero movie, but for like student abroad movie. Like we're on a class trip over in Europe.
Coming of age.
Yeah,
it felt very
it's just
coming
like
of age.
I'm in the room. She's yelling at me to take off my clothes. It's just a funny
Yeah.
situation.
And she doesn't turn around. She's just like right there, just
Just
staring
watching
at,
him.
watching him.
It's
It's
like, what
like,
the hell? He's
okay.
like- and then Brad comes in and
Oh.
of course
Takes a picture.
takes a picture, and he's gonna go show MJ, and there's more conflict to the story, and that was just cool because then on the way on the bus ride to the place, he puts on the Edith glasses again because remember how he could see the text messages, and he looks over at his phone and he sees the picture of him, with his pants down next to the girl. He's like, fuck. And he's just like, Edith, this guy has a picture of me. Is he a target? And
Yes.
it's just like, yes. All of a sudden you see the satellite in space change. It's just like, oh my God, this is great.
Missile firing.
Yeah,
It's
there's
oh my
like
God.
a drone coming out to the
Yeah.
bus, to the van to go take him out. And I like that because it brought in another situation where it's just like, all right, Peter does have a suit with him, but he can't change into it right in front of everybody on the bus. And so he's got to create distraction.
baby goats!
Yeah, baby goats. And then it's like, ooh, baby goats, right? When the car is swerving, which is even more ridiculous. The bus was already swerving, and Peter goes, baby goats, and everybody's like, ooh, fuck the car swerving. Let's look at the baby goats. But it was cool. I like that. You see him do the flip up through the emergency exit in the roof, and he just takes down the drone. It was just like, I don't know. I just love having those situations in superhero movies when you can't get into your suit right away. Oh, yeah, and he knocked out Flash, too, because Flash got his glasses.
Oh,
I like it.
yeah.
It's like, oh, nice. How did you afford these, Parker? Relax. I'm not stealing them. I'm actually giving you a compliment. It's so
punches
funny. He just accidentally slaps him and it knocks him out. It was so
And
funny.
he was out cold.
Did you just knock out Flash?
Yeah.
What? No.
And then when he wakes up later, just like, ow, ow. And you see him stretching his
Oh yeah,
face
when
out.
you knock out Flash, no, and that was the
Yeah.
response to when the drone asked if he wanted to terminate, like
Yeah.
to cancel. He's like, no. It's like, all right, we will engage. It's like, whoa, like I love that. I will seeing how we're on Flash. I actually liked Flash a lot more in this movie than I did the last movie.
I liked him in both. In the first one, they really try to drive it home that he was like this douchey kid.
Yeah.
In this one, it was more sort of likable, I guess, or a little more grounded, I guess. He didn't feel so one-dimensional, but he still did like the live streaming and those little douchey things.
He was
I think he's
still a
great.
douche, but he was one of those like, yeah, I guess I can stand hanging around with that dick for a while.
Especially if he keeps like saying, being a huge fan of Spider-Man. Like,
Yeah.
he's a fan of Spider-Man. You know what I'm saying? Like, come on.
Well, they kind of made you feel bad for him a little bit in this. You got a little bit more information because at the end of the movie, when they're at the airport and they're coming back, and he sees, like, obviously he's rich, and he sees the butler picking him up. He's like, "Mom's not here." And the guy's like, oh, so you can see that's why he's
Yeah.
kind of like a
He's
douche.
like, oh yeah, she couldn't make it again.
Yeah, something
Yeah.
like that. So anyway, yeah, so their bus makes it to the 5-star hotel in Prague, and they decided to the elementals are going to be there, the fire one, the
Yep.
big one.
Supposed to be the last one left.
Yeah,
The
because
one that killed Mysterio's home planet.
yeah. And so Peter's a little nervous. He wants to get his friends inside, so he asks Edith to figure out what's going on. Like, hey, how can I get them inside? They're gonna go to an opera instead of the awesome carnival outside, which is kind of fun because obviously you knew that they were not gonna go to the
Yeah.
opera. You knew that they were gonna, but it also gave us a really fun scene with MJ and Peter when they go into the opera, and she's just like, and that Brad guy's just like, I'll save you a seat, MJ. She's like, yeah, okay. And then she's like, do you want to get one of those viewing glasses together? Just like
Yeah.
that. I love that, those little scenes. I fucking love those. Usually when they happen in movies, when they're trying to get you to care about this character's relationships, it's just like, oh, boring. But this time I'm like, I wanted more. I just loved their chemistry together. I want them to be together so
It
bad.
did, and to me that speaks volume because after the first one, you see Peter trying to get with that other girl, the one that ends up moving away
Liz.
with Liz. And you see MJ, and she just came off as really awkward, whatever. And then when you find out she's MJ at the end, I didn't necessarily feel like they had that great spark of like, oh, I want to see them together.
Yeah.
I didn't see it. Then when we saw this movie, I completely saw it, and I
It's
did
just
want
like,
to see
yep,
it.
that's
Yep,
exactly because she
what
did
it is.
change. She was
did.
more off-putting in the first one, but she acted almost like a little bit more cooler than
Yeah.
she did in here. She played a little bit more reserved, and I really liked it, man. I loved them together.
Yeah, she did good.
So
Zendaya
yeah,
killed
and
it.
so Peter's got the stealth suit on, and he's fighting the fire monster. And of course, most of the kids from the opera decide to hop out of there, and they go out to the carnival, and they see the monster, and Ned and Betty.
Mary Jane runs after Peter first, and then who is it? Betty.
Yeah, how have we not talked about Ned and Betty?
Yeah, Ned and Betty.
Ned and Betty.
Ned and Betty.
getting some
Now
Betty.
that was a real couple that we needed.
Yeah, it was so funny because that whole like plan on the plane trip backfired, and like Peter wanted to get close to MJ, and he ended up sitting further, and Ned ended up having to sit with this girl, and then when they got off the plane, he's like, "Oh yeah, this is my girlfriend now," and it's just so funny.
Just because when the plane shook, you see them like grab each other's hands and they look
Yeah,
and they look
yeah.
at each other,
Yeah,
and you thought she was gonna pull away, then the scene ends,
Yeah.
and you're like, "What was that?"
And then their boyfriend and girlfriend when they get off the plane,
Immediately,
oh dude, that
that's
was
so
so funny.
funny.
Hey babe.
Yeah,
Oh,
miss you more.
Yeah.
It's
And they're
like,
sitting right next to each other.
Yeah, it's like, oh come on.
And so now Ned and Betty are on the Ferris wheel because like Ned's trying to get it. It's like, oh man, I know Spider-Man just told me that this place is gonna get ruined. We have to go back inside. And she's like, what's wrong? There's too many people out here. We should go back inside. And she's like, oh no, I got the perfect place. And they go on the Ferris wheel, and now they're stuck at the top, and the fire monster's going crazy. And they see Spider-Man in the stealth suit, and Betty's just like, is that Spider-Man? And of course, the guy in the chair, he's literally in the chair in the Ferris wheel.
No, that's Night Monkey.
It's a rip.
I just read about it
European,
this morning.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
a European version of Spider-Man. It's a ripoff. It's a night monkey.
Night
Then
monkey.
everybody's
What the
calling
fuck
him
is
the
that?
night monkey. Oh man, that was a welcome
That's
joke.
funny. It's like, why is he swinging around with webs and everything? He's Night Monkey. That's so
Night monkey.
ridiculous.
Oh man,
Oh,
so
Ned.
funny. So basically, that it ends. Of course, Peter's on like protective detail. So instead of he's just basically distracting the monster because his webs weren't even working when he was shooting at the monster. They were catching on fire as they were going
Well,
out.
he shot one web into the monster, and that's the one that ends up pulling
Disintegrate.
the projection piece.
Yeah, he pulled the
out.
projection piece out that MJ found that was covered in the webs. That's right. But he was on protective duty, and then Quentin was just like, "Oh, he's getting too big," and made it feel like he was going to do the sacrifice move and kill himself to stop the monster. And they did that, and it's like, "Yeah." And Peter just he's all like, "All right, let's go get a." Well, Quentin's like, let's go get a drink after he finds out that he survived. And they're sitting at the bar. And this is like the first time I did not like what was happening in the movie. And that's when it's revealed that, of course, that Quentin is the villain.
Yeah.
And he's not even from another dimension. They all just used to work for Stark. And it was that classic villain telling too much, monologuing. All he was missing was that curly mustache. It's like, this is my plan. We did it. And there's just like he was pointing out the different characters who were helping him do it the whole time.
Then flashing them back to the movies
that they were in. It's just like, oh my God. It was so cringe to me the first time.
Yes. See, this, I didn't mind it because I've been in offices where I've seen this, where someone gets an award or there's a big accomplishment that happens and they're like, oh, give a speech.
Oh, yeah.
And even though everyone knows what everyone
Yes,
contributed to it, they're like, and I'd like to thank, Mary for doing this and this, and Bob for doing this and this, and Carolina. And they go through like everyone. So it seemed natural to me because I've seen it before, where people are like oversharing just because it's their time to give a speech and they have to give everyone their due.
Yeah.
And this is a classic villain monologuing.
Yeah, and it was a good change because this is where it changed Mysterio from the comics too. Because in the comics, he's a failed actor who ends up becoming a special effects technician.
Oh yeah.
And he wants to set up Spider-Man and become a hero. Now he worked for Tony Stark. He
Developed
created
the
the technology. Tony Stark gave it a shitty fucking name.
Barf.
Yeah.
Barf.
And now he's a vindictive guy who's really intelligent with technology and holographic augmented reality.
Which is a good pivot from what it was originally because, like, I mean...
Especially nowadays, like, special effects, like, you don't need to be a hero. Like, making a lot
Yeah.
of fucking money
Yeah.
already.
Well, I mean, other than like he was a failed actor, it just made more sense that he was working for Tony in something
Yeah.
that was already set up. It's just like the first time I saw it, it was a little much for me. I was just like, oh, but I saw it 2 times, and so the second time I saw it, it didn't bother me as much as the first time, and that's what actually bumped me up to a 9, a scoring for the 9 for it. But anyway, so yeah, so Peter decided, oh wait, that note that Tony left me with the glasses is that, oh man,
For the next Tony Stark.
I choose you. It's not that he chooses me as the next Tony Stark. He just knows that I wouldn't be able to do it, but I would pick the right person. And so he brings the control to the glasses to Quentin. He's like, these are your glasses. And oh, of course, oh my God, I was just cringing at that. I'm like, what are you doing? Why are you giving him the
You
glasses?
just met this guy.
What the fuck are you doing, dude? Fuck it. Just keep it. I wouldn't trust
He's a little
anybody.
16-year-old kid.
Yeah,
Doesn't
then
know
again,
any better.
it makes sense. You know, you put a 16-year-old in his maturity level, regardless of his power, in a situation where
He almost killed a classmate.
Yeah.
he feels all this stress, all this pressure, the world's on top of him that doesn't have the confidence that he could ever live up to his mentor and have this on him. And then here he sees a chance of someone who, like his mentor, sacrificed himself or tried to sacrifice himself, even though
Yeah.
it was fake. Here, where he's just like, wait, this
the new-
person
yeah.
can do better. Like, he's just like Tony.
Yeah.
I'm not like Tony. He's like Tony.
Yeah.
So it's understandable he makes such a bad decision at such a young age, considering the circumstances.
Yeah, but still, it's just like in the same way, it's good that it made you cringe because that's what they were trying to do with the story. I mean, it's almost like in horror movies when you're just like, don't go in there, don't go in there, oh, don't go in there, oh, they just went in there. It's like, don't give him the glasses, don't give him the glasses, because you could see him becoming a villain like a mile away. I mean, it was halfway through the movie and it felt like the movie was supposed to be ending, the conflict was supposed to be ending. It's like, no way. I mean, you guys had told me that Mysterio is basically like a villain. Yeah.
No, he absolutely is a villain. He's not even an
I know,
anti.
but even before going into the movie,
Yeah.
say if you weren't a fan of, you didn't know anything about Mysterio or anything, going into this movie, you probably think he's just, oh, he's the new hero. He's a new hero.
Yeah.
And so I could see why maybe some people were getting upset, would be upset at that, but not. It was just like the way it was done was a little cheesy for me. But anyway, so yeah, he gives him the glasses. Peter goes back to the hotel, and of course they're canceling the field trip because all the monsters try to kill all the kids. All our parents want us back home. What are you, crazy?
Yeah.
And so he's like, all right, this is my one chance to go talk to MJ, and they decide to go out on a stroll. And there's another awesome scene. He's about to confess his love for
You know
her.
they used to execute people on this bridge?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why I like it. That's why I want to come here, you know? And so he's about to tell her that he likes her. He's like, MJ, she's like Spider-Man. And she's like, she figured it out.
Yeah.
And,
You even see him holding the little box, and it's just like, oh,
Yeah.
that's not what we wanted to talk
like,
about.
but
What-
even,
what-
yeah.
What? No.
Yeah.
I'm not Spider-Man.
Yeah, there's that constant, is he, isn't he? He's defending it. And then when she pulled out the evidence, which was like the thing that Spider-Man ripped
The
out,
projector.
the projector that's covered in the webs.
Yeah, to prove it was the same web Spider-Man uses,
Yeah.
even though it was Night Monkey.
Yeah, even though it
Yeah.
was Night Monkey.
It's funny, even when Betty remembers screaming, Night Monkey.
Yeah, Night Monkey.
Not even looking, Night Monkey. Hey, you guys need help?
And so the projector turns on, and they see that it was all a trick. None of the monsters were real, and it's created by Mysterio. And I love that moment from Peter. No, before that, this is why I liked it too. Is you would think that he would be okay with her knowing that he was Spider-Man, and then like you see his heart get ripped out of pieces. Like, wait, were you only looking at me and watching me because you thought I was Spider-Man, not because you liked me, you know? And you kind of see that little sadness. And she's like, yeah. It's just like, oh, she doesn't like him. What the fuck, man? I want them to work so bad. And then the projector turns on, and they realize that it was all fake. And you see Mysterio flying around in there. And then I just love that heart change. Like, I'm Spider-Man. Yep, I am Spider-Man. She's like, are you kidding right now? No, I'm not. And I just made a really, really, really bad mistake.
It's like good because I was only like 68% sure.
Yeah. Oh man, that was so fun. And you see them run up to the hotel room, and he's getting changed right in front of her, and she's just like, oh, she awkwardly turns around. Then
Like Ned walks in.
Yeah.
She's still trying to look. You see her kind of looking back at it,
Yeah,
like, I'm
she-
going to look.
yeah, so
cool.
she does like him, obviously.
Yeah.
And then Ned was just like, what are you doing? He's like, nice costume for the costume party that we're going to.
Still
And
trying
he's
to
like,
go.
oh, she knows. So she's like, I found out. You know
It's
what
like
I mean?
I told her.
Yeah.
And I found out.
It's even funny how, like, when they make him this stealth costume, it's like, the eyes still look like Spider-Man. Like, he's still obviously
Yeah.
Spider-Man,
Yeah.
the design of it.
It was so crazy. It was so fun. And so he has to go. he needs Ned to step up once again and call Aunt May, because Aunt May knows that he's Spider-Man. That's why I like it when people know that he's Spider-Man. It's just easier for him to hey, Ned, go lie for me. I'll be right back.
Yeah.
And so, he had to tell the teacher that he's staying with family out there so they could go back because he's got to take care of
So
the
he
classes.
can go to Berlin.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he was like, I can go to Berlin.
Which
I
is where
need
Fury
a
is.
story,
Yeah.
because he's going to go meet with Fury.
And so they end up meeting up with Fury, and then he's bringing them to their headquarters, like Nick Fury and Maria Hill's headquarters. And then when he gets there, he finds out that it's all an illusion from Mysterio, because Mysterio's tracking him.
Because before that, he's Mysterio's going through his next plan, his next stage, and that's when he finds out that one of the drones is missing a projector.
Yeah, and you got to see them working their scene out,
choreographing the entire thing,
bumping up the damage. Let's double the damage, and you see him really kind of freak out. And it was a nice little insight that he doesn't really want to hurt people, because he got upset when he's like, "God damn it, this is your fault. Spider-Man's blood is on your hands. I have to kill Spider-Man."
Yeah.
Well, he didn't mind hurting people because as they're ramping up the damage,
Yeah.
you're going to kill a lot of people.
Yeah, the building's going
But
down.
he didn't want to kill Spider-Man.
Yeah.
He was okay with killing unnamed civilians. He actually...
The casualties, yeah.
Yeah, he had a plan to take out Nick Fury. He just did not want to kill Spider-Man.
Because he actually liked Peter.
Yeah.
He grew on him. You could tell he grew on him.
Fuck him, he's a dick.
Yeah.
Goddamn Jake Gyllenhaal.
But this gave us a really cool scene. Once it's revealed that it's all an image and it's all fake, you see Spider-Man completely overwhelmed trying to battle Mysterio when he doesn't know what is true and what is not.
Yeah.
At one point, he thinks he's webbing Mysterio to pull him down,
And it's a crane.
And it's a crane.
Oh, that was so
Dude,
cool.
that scene was
crosses
so good, man.
I loved
whole
all that
visual
trippy
effects.
visual effects stuff, because like you could break the bounds of reality for the movie because you know it's fake, but it just looks so cool.
And they
then
did such a
Iron
good-
Man.
Yeah.
coming
Yeah.
out.
They,
Oh,
They
man.
did such a good disorienting us where, like, I didn't know what was real and what was not in that scene.
Yeah,
It was
because
great.
He said, what would he say? He goes, it's easy to trick people who are already fooling themselves. So what he's saying is, like, you know that this is fake, but you still can't get it out of your head. Like, you're fooling yourself. I can't believe you're falling for this technology.
Yeah, and then it fakes us out too, like Dan was saying,
Yeah.
because then it looks like, oh shit, like Nick Fury saved him, like shot Mysterio in the back, and everything is clear and safe, and that's another illusion on
Yeah.
top of that, and I'm like, what is real?
Yeah, that they did a really good job of that, making you feel paranoid. And then essentially, he basically scares him to stand on top of train tracks, and then he pulls out he stops all the VFX, and you see him just get hit by a train, and you just went, oh. Fuck, that was crazy. And Peter gets where did the train ended up at?
Netherlands.
Because he crawled inside the train
Yeah.
and he just passed out inside the train. All of a sudden, he wakes up in a jail cell in the
Netherlands.
Netherlands, which was so funny. I love that he ended up in the Netherlands because everybody was so nice there.
Yeah.
All the
Yeah.
guys he was locked up in, they're like, hey. He's like, we put a shirt on you. You look cold. We're in the Netherlands. It's like, where's the guards? Oh, he's on his phone. He's on the phone with his wife. She's pregnant. She is.
Yeah.
It's just so funny.
He breaks the lock to
Yeah.
get out,
Yeah.
leaves the door open, and they just walk over and then just close it.
And
And
then
they
lock
lock
it
it,
right back
lock
up.
it back themselves. Like everybody was so nice. Like, wow, everybody's so nice here. He goes out to this first person he sees in the village. Can I use your phone? And the guy, he's just like, yep, here you go. It's yours. And it's just-
But you forgot about the guard wearing his mask
Oh,
that
yeah.
was on the phone.
and he's like, oh no, he's like
Yes,
Spider
the
Monkey.
monkey.
Yeah.
The monkey. Night monkey.
Backtracking a little bit, what I liked about the Mysterio scene is that he wasn't just physically beating him up by causing him to land things. He was psychologically
Yeah.
beating him down the whole time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
especially with
That
like
Iron Man coming out of the
Iron
grave.
Man,
yeah.
yeah.
And that's, of course, Peter Parker's weakness because of his immaturity.
It's like, because it's not just like the weight of the world on his shoulders. He's like, it's right. Like, he sacrificed himself so I could be here, and I don't want to do the stuff that he sacrificed himself for. And like, you can see that torment him in there, especially not just not knowing what's real and what's not real. It's just like basically taking the weakness he knows he already has and throwing it into his face. And it's just like, you can't handle this. And we lost Tony Stark. And it was like, we don't trade characters, Captain. You remember in Endgame when he said that? It's like they traded, and he's just like, he's not worth it. That's what he feels.
Which makes the next scene that we're going to talk about
Oh my
so
god,
much
it's
better.
gonna be so hard to talk about this scene because without crying.
I was talking to a friend earlier about it, and I
started
started
tearing
crying
up.
again.
Yeah,
Yeah.
man. So he calls up Happy, in the Netherlands, and Happy comes in on the jet, and he's like, "Wait, Happy, is that really you?" He's like, "Yeah." He's like, "Tell me something only you would know." He's just like, "When I brought you to Germany and we were checking out, I know that you were watching a dirty movie because they didn't list the name, but I knew it was dirty because it was that price.
The price of the
price
movie.
is too high, and you didn't know how I know." He's like, "Okay, Happy," and he gives him a big hug, and he gets him on the airplane, and he's like stitching him up, and like, man, such an awesome scene.
He's
where
like, calm down.
Yeah, he's just like I screwed up. All this stuff is like, I'm not ready for this. I miss him, and just seeing Happy just come in and just play Tony Stark like for him, because Happy was there for when Tony was going through all that stuff, and he's just like, you're not going to be Iron Man. Nobody's going to be Iron Man. Tony Stark could barely live up to the Iron Man name. You're not going to do it. And he goes like, Tony Stark always second guessed himself on everything. The only thing he didn't second guess was picking you. That was the only thing he was 100%. And of course, like, that's when I started getting tears down my face. I'm like, this motherfucker did it. Oh my God, he's making me cry at the movies again. And then he's just like, so, okay, you lost your tech. You lost your friends. What are you going to do? It's just like, and
He's like, I'm going to kick his ass. No, really, what are you going to do right now?
Yeah,
What's
right
the
now.
plan?
Like, we've just been hovering over this tulip field for like the last 15 minutes.
Yeah. Oh my! And the fact that they had that heartfelt moment mixed with that comedy for the uplifting afterwards, it was it was just good levity. You know what I mean?
But then right after that, I need a suit.
Yeah.
I got you.
He goes.
And he designs his own. Man.
You do the suit. I'll do the music.
Yeah.
Literally with the exact mannerisms of Tony with the holograph.
When he was like designing
the flicking,
everything.
putting the hand in through the
Dude, and he added the glider, like a little flying squirrel, dude.
Oh no, he had that in the first one.
No, he did, but this one I feel like we just got more shots. Of him
He only used it once in the other movie.
Yeah.
But like I'm saying that parallel of him and Tony.
Yeah.
While Back in Black is playing.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I love Led Zeppelin.
Oh man, that was great. So that's bringing us. And it reminded me of in Homecoming. Remember the other moment that made me cry in Homecoming? It's like, come on, Spider-Man!
Yeah.
Like when you hear him screaming because he's beat down, he thinks he's gonna die. He's just a kid asking for help, and he's trying to motivate himself. Like, come on, Spider-Man! Come on, Spider-Man! Like, oh man, that just like gets adrenaline going through your veins, and then in this movie when they did that again, and you just seem like, I'm gonna kick his ass. Like you just want to be like, yeah, kick his fucking ass, Spider-Man, kick his ass,
punch Donnie Darko in the face.
And so man, we're into the final act, and they found out where they are because they know that Beck is gonna go try and kill all of his friends.
Yep. But they find him
because the Flash is live streaming everything.
Live stream.
Which, see, plant and payoff, right?
Yeah, it was just, it was just really cool seeing Spider-Man fly in with a flying squirrel suit wings, and he just gets inside the illusion, and it was just so fun seeing him jump from drone to drone and taking them all out. Peter versus the drones was really cool.
Such a good action. That was where they had really impressive action.
But right before that, as he's sticking on the plane, when we're done with all this, we're gonna have a serious conversation about you and my aunt.
Yeah, you were dating Aunt May. Yeah, that was so funny. And so he's taking out all the drones.
Starts messing up the illusion, which leads to Mysterio like something's wrong. Show me inside.
Yeah, and he sees that Spider-Man. He's like, I found it. I'm gonna kill him. And it was just an awesome action scene.
And then,
I was gonna say what we didn't mention is that Mysterio had one of his people pick up the kids. In the future, pick them up and take them there onto the bridge, which was the kill zone.
The kill zone, so he could kill the people who also knew that Mysterio was a big faker.
And then going in that. Before that was he also had the plan to take out Fury and Maria Hill, and then they see Spider-Man falling down into the illusion, and then Nick Fury just looks at her and is like, "You got my back," and she just goes up to the roof with a fucking rocket launcher.
That was cool.
Because then it made sense because Happy had called him earlier and tried to speak code to him, so that in case Mysterio was listening. So then that message with seeing Spider-Man, that kind of clicked for them, like, okay, something's wrong here.
Yeah, that's right. And there's a lot of stuff going on. Happy's going to go find the other kids, and the plane blows up when he's trying to get the other kids. He's like, I work with Spider-Man. You work for Spider-Man. I work with Spider-Man, not for Spider-Man. It was, that was just fun. And they were running.
Even though it's such an intense scene, he had to clarify that before they could move on. That was so good. No, I work with Spider-Man.
Not for Spider-Man, because Spider-Man still kind of irks him. He's still like, kids, but at the same time, he's, and so he's bringing the kids into one of the towers because, the drones are flying around.
The Tower of London.
Yeah, the Tower of London. in the weapons exhibit, and the drones get in there trying to kill them, and they end up locking themselves in the vault, and they have that really funny scene.
The crown jewel vault.
Yeah, the crown jewel vault, because it's like 4 inches thick as steel, you know. And the drones are trying to get in there, and they have a really fun moment where they're all confessing things because they think they're all gonna die.
I love Spider-Man's aunt. I thought we were being honest.
Well, we're sharing.
Yeah, it's like love. Like, whoa, that's a big step, Happy.
And it's like, you might have just given away his identity to the other people in there.
Basically, yeah, exactly.
Doesn't matter when you're a friend of Spider-Man. He knows. Happy knew. But anyway, yeah, it was, then Flash found out. It's just like, hey, man, don't be upset that you have so many followers and that's how you spend your life. That's how me and Spider-Man found you. He's like, Spider-Man follows me? He's like, yes, Spider-Man follows me on Twitter or whatever it is. It was really funny. And so, yeah, this battle was really cool because at the beginning of the movie, they were talking about the Peter tingle and how he doesn't have a really good grasp on the spider sense, and he doesn't know how he's going to get through all these illusions. And so he's on that long hallway with him and Beck, and you just see him just like close his eyes and like right when the illusions come around him,
because all the drones went invisible.
Yeah, and so he just closed his eyes like, come on, Peter Tingle. And then it just gave one of the coolest looking action sequences. You just see him running down the hallway with his eyes closed, just taking down drones, flipping out of the way of fire, just using his spider sense. And it was just like, as a nerd, like as a comic book guys, like it was
Totally
just so
geeked
cool
out.
seeing that. It was like, yes, kick his ass,
Dude,
Spider-Man.
I screamed out, fuck yeah, in the theater when I saw that.
Oh, man, that was so fucking cool. And then finally he takes down Beck, and he's just standing there. He's like, I trusted you. And he's doing all this stuff. He's like, give me the glasses. And he held out the glasses, and he's still talking. All of a sudden, this confusing part comes where Peter just stops, and he just grabs like invisible air next to him, and you hear a gunshot, and he goes off, and it's revealed that was Mysterio the whole time. It was another illusion. And he's just like, you'll never fool me again. It was just like, oh, man. But at the same time, he just want him to kick his ass. But here's something that what were you gonna say, Jose?
Well, I was gonna say, before that sequence happened, there was another part that really showed who Peter Parker is that I thought was really cool. Is he runs out of webs? Yeah. All these drones are there. He's kind of pinned down, doesn't know what to do. And then you see him use his intelligence in this beyond all his powers. He builds himself a little device
from some of the
scraps
drones
in there,
and stuff.
Uses one of the drones whose ability was pretty much
like the pulse.
The pulse. And he uses that, launches, blows it up, all the drones. Uses that to push himself up to meet Mysterio for that scene.
Yeah, that was cool.
Right to the ceiling, and he just grabs them. It's like, oh shit.
I mean, you always hear that he's a science guy, but it's one thing to be science and one thing to be science under pressure like that. And just to seeing how he was able to see how all these things operate, and he's just building himself something else because his webs didn't work, which is basically what Tony did in Iron Man 3. You remember? It's like, I don't got the suit. What do I got to do?
Another parallel.
Yeah.
In this Peter Parker, though, in this version of it, we haven't really seen him do too much like tech geeky stuff. Like Tom Holland, we haven't seen him do it too much.
A little. I mean, you hear him talk about it physics-wise.
Yeah, but we just haven't seen it.
Yeah, we haven't
seen it. You know what I'm saying? This was the first real time that I've seen him do it, especially under pressure.
I mean, a little bit in Homecoming when he's in the science lab and he's mixing up his web fluid, and you can see that he knows his stuff. But actually, just seeing him,
when he opens the parameters of the suit.
Yeah,
and all that stuff. So light stuff.
Yeah,
but this, like Kevin said, was heat of the moment.
Yeah, you're gonna die.
I got these pieces here. MacGyver the shit out of this.
And it is cool because it also throws back to Homecoming. Tony's like, if you're nothing without the suit, you don't deserve it. Yeah. And so he ran out of web shooters, and it's just like, I don't need him. I can just do whatever I can. It was, and the fact that he was able to take down Mysterio without using his webs, and he was just using his sense. That's what he didn't need the suit. He just needed to trust himself.
The Force was with him.
The Force was with him. Oh man, I
am one with the Force. The
How
Force is with me.
How have they not used a Force joke with the Peter Tingle yet? Because he's such a huge. And they mentioned Star Wars a couple of times in this. It was funny to see. It was funny to see Samuel L. Jackson reference Star Wars inside this movie because he's Mace Windu. It was just really funny to see that. But anyway, so he beats up Beck. Beck is recording him because he says he has a contingency plan. He's talking to the guys, and once Peter gets the glasses back, he's just like, do you want to execute deleting all the drones? He's like, yes, execute them all. And then you see all the drones fly away. But I thought that was going to make the drones execute Ned. I thought Ned was gonna die in this. I'm not gonna lie. I really thought Ned was gonna die by one of the drones.
Which is cool because then it pops in your mind later when you see the mid-credit scene. But earlier in the scene, you hear his man behind the chair.
Yeah.
When they're having a discussion where he wants to keep the illusion going, and Beck is telling him, "No, take off the illusion. Show like the drones."
Yeah.
And he's like, "Okay, I don't know how you're gonna spin this."
Yeah, yeah.
And it's just like then they just move past it, and at the end we see he had a plan on how
Yeah.
to spin this.
But this also brings into a little problem I'm having. I couldn't think about what happened. And so when Peter's fighting Beck, and Beck gets knocked down. Well, he gets shot by one of his own drones, and he's laying on the floor. But that was all an illusion. Beck was standing right next to him, right? Remember when he was going to fire the gun at Peter, and Peter just stopped him, and then he just took the glasses away from him. And then you see all the drones fly away when he does that, and then Beck is laying on the ground, and he dies.
Well, 'cause
how did Beck die?
I think what it was is Beck actually got shot, and then he created the illusion to make himself disappear and have that illusion down on the ground.
Oh, okay.
So it was that last ditch, like I'm good, the misdirection, like he's
Okay.
actually injured, but I'm still gonna try to take him out.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, because I think
I can see that.
his plan was gonna be to take out Spider-Man.
Yeah.
And then frame Spider-Man as the bad guy, and he was the hero who stopped
Yes,
Spider-Man.
yeah, that's basically what it was. But so it was just like how he died. I'm like, I didn't get how he died, but when you say it like that, he actually did get shot, and then he turned the illusions on, and he got out of there, and he stood up.
So that means he had to have created an
'cause
illusion
you
where
see
he
the
knew
wound.
he was going to get shot.
No, he got. Oh yeah, that's right.
Right? Because if it's there doing the fake dying and
Well,
then
he also had the control panel on his wrist.
oh, so
Yeah.
he's able to control.
Yeah,
that
he's able to
thing.
control
Gotcha.
that stuff while he was there.
Yeah, just like the first time they faced off, he was creating all those illusions in the
Okay.
moment.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, but anyway, yeah. So that's how it is, and so he gets to meet MJ on the bridge right after that whole crazy action sequence. They finally meet, and that's when they get to kiss. Even though it was such an awkward little kiss peck thing.
It's like, you kissed me.
Yeah. But it didn't need to be anything more than that. That's exactly what it needed to be, and it was really fun. They all go home. They
She
all
walks
get
off with her mace.
Yeah, with her mace.
I'm gonna take this just in
It was
case.
like because she runs over with the mace. She's like, "I just brought this just in case you needed help."
Yeah.
That's so badass.
Yeah. Oh man, I just love them together. I really do. They're so perfect, and I love that they change the character of Mary Jane because like her name's not even Mary
No,
Jane.
it's just-
But they call her MJ.
yeah.
It's like Michelle. They
Yeah.
called her Michelle in the last one, and it kind of goes into what people are bitching about today about Ariel being casted by a black girl, and it's just like, what the fuck are you complaining about? Shut the fuck up.
Who cares?
Who cares? I'm like, you can't be married to these things. If they casted an Indian guy as Superman, I'm like, if the movie's good and he's a good actor, I don't give a flying fuck. I'm like, come on. But this is like, I just love the change of the actual character of Mary Jane because it was more than just the race of the person playing her. It was a complete transition of how she was carrying herself, like how she was just a little bit more nerdy and more reserved and
they made
the awkward one out of the
Yeah,
group.
they sort of made her more badass because Mary Jane was known for being a model, right?
Yeah.
That's originally what she was, like an actress model.
I mean,
It's boring.
Zendaya could be a
we've
model.
seen-
What is she
well,
famous
she
for?
actually is. Like, she was on the
She's a
Disney
musician.
show. And,
Yeah.
so she did music with them, but it was originally Disney Channel.
Yeah.
But with this one, it's like it makes her more badass. It makes her smarter. It makes
Yeah.
her more cunning. We've seen the other rendition of it already with Kirsten Dunst.
Yeah.
Like,
Exactly.
I don't need to see it again.
So we're wrapping all that up. They had loved their chemistry together. Love Zendaya as MJ. I want to see more of their relationship. I wonder what their conflict is going to be next. And then we got the mid-credit spoilers. So the mid-credit scene, you see Peter talking with Happy, and before that he got before the movie ends, Peter's talking to Happy and Aunt May having the talk with them because they're dating, and then like you see that those two are kind of falling out. She's like, it's just a summer fling. He's like, what do you mean it was a summer fling? That grows into more, you know.
And it's funny because he just said, I love her. And it's like, and now she's over here just calling it a summer fling.
Yeah.
Like, they're way on opposite sides of the spectrum.
And so Peter's like, when did I start? He's like, I gotta go.
Yeah.
It was funny because like it's like they only needed to do it with this movie, and they foreshadowed that with Ned and Betty because at the end when they got off the plane, we broke up. but they're still like very mature about
People
it.
grow apart.
Yeah, people
In a
grow
flight.
apart.
But they
Yeah.
can still be
You
good,
are
really
so
good
wise.
friends.
And I think they just ultimately didn't want Happy and Aunt May to be together, which actually it's welcomed. I would love that if they got married. If like that would be cool. I'd be down.
It goes with Peter Parker and Aunt May being single, right? Because he doesn't really have that father figure in his
Yeah.
life into his college years when he gets older. Like he really shouldn't have.
Yeah.
Even though I like Happy, it changes his character too much. There's too much of a father figure around.
Yeah. That's
Well,
true.
Happy wouldn't end up being a father figure because it would have been so awkward.
Yeah.
No, for sure, but
he's
still,
Spider-Man.
But he would have been
Yeah.
the protector of Aunt May, and that's such a big part to Peter Parker and Spider-Man, in his character.
I'd
arc.
welcome it. I mean, because it's Jon Favreau. You know what I mean? He's just so great.
He is great.
So
He's a
yeah,
swingers.
and so Peter, he's gonna go meet up with MJ, and he's swinging through the city in his new cool black and red spider suit, and he picks her up. He's like, "All right, you ready?" She's like, "Yeah." And so he just picks her up, and they just go swinging through the
Scares the
city.
shit out
And
of her.
she is terrified.
Yeah, and then it goes to the credits, and then after the credits,
Nope.
The mid-credit.
mid credits. That's what I meant. What?
Yeah.
The mid credits, yeah. It picks up after in the mid credits, and they're still flinging through the
Okay.
air, and he lands, and like he lets her off, and she's like, "I never want to do that again." Oh, it's like, okay, all right, well, I gotta go. I'll see you later. And he goes on top, and this felt so Spider-Man PS4. It's not even funny because you remember
The
playing
selfie.
Spider-Man. Oh yeah, because they were doing the selfie,
selfie,
when he's
yeah.
like flinging through on his way to get her. But even
don't text and swing.
yeah, don't test and string. And then even at the end of that, when she's gone, it was like when you're playing the game and you're done with the mission, and then Peter like flings up to a light post or something, and then the camera angle switches, and then you hear that, and it's like breaking news on the TVs
Yeah.
all over New York. And of course, we get J.K. Simmons back as J.
Yeah.
Jonah
Well,
Jameson.
well, first we get the footage of
Yeah.
how Mysterio is framing Spider-Man,
yeah.
broken by the Daily Bugle
With
with
J-
J.K. Simmons
yeah.
reprising as J. Jonah Jameson.
And they actually had it exactly like how it is in the video game. How he's like a podcast host, but now it's more like it's like the InfoWars type
Yeah.
of crazy conspiracy shit. And he reveals that Glenn Beck, not Glenn Beck, Quentin Beck is he is some new shocking footage on the attack last week in Europe, and you see him going like, I know the true identity of Spider-Man. He went evil. He says he can be the only person who can replace Tony Stark, and he's using Stark tech and drones. But the real identity is Peter Parker. And then it shows the picture of Peter Parker.
What was cool about it is like he was like, and the real identity is, and then it cuts off, and I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, they're not gonna reveal it, but then it like goes
goes
back.
back,
It's
yeah.
like it's Peter Parker. I'm like, no, they did it.
They did
They
it.
did it.
They did it. He's like, what the fuck? And then it just and then the movie just ends, and they get the credits, and that was a really cool mid-credit scene. I was really stoked because it's something new with Spider-Man. You guys are heavy into the comics. Is it
Yeah,
ever
they've
like
never done
did
that
have they
before.
ever figured out that everybody knows that Peter Parker is Spider-Man?
Well, I mean, it's the Civil War that was the big storyline where he revealed himself as part of Civil War. So his identity has been revealed before. But it's going to make things interesting because there's multiple ways you can go with this. You can either go that now everyone he knows is in danger and his identity is out there, or it can go because it is kind of like an InfoWar show where it's the battle of like, is this true? Is this not? And he has to find a way to
prove that,
to
like,
show
both
other
of them
people
in
that
the
he's
same
not
room.
Spider-Man, where there's someone else taking
Yeah.
taking the role. So do they go that route and kind of
Like
reverse it?
Ned, MJ could always help him. They can always, do like one of those holograms of Spider-Man or Peter Parker.
They
or
can
something.
reverse it where
Yeah.
it turns out it's like no one's gonna believe the Inquirer
Yeah.
in there, or it's believed and then now he has to deal with the consequences.
I think he's not going to try and fool everybody that he's not Spider-Man. I think that he's just going to be honest about it because that's what Tony did. Tony knew that there was going to be no way. I mean, that's what he did at the end of Iron Man. He just, I am Iron Man. And that was actually improvised by Robert Downey Jr.
But the difference here is that Iron Man was Tony was in a good spot when he revealed that he was.
Yeah.
This is his identity getting revealed with the conspiracy of him terrorizing European countries. So it's not just villains, it's governments.
Now everybody thinks that he's evil.
Shields and all that stuff going through. So if he even reveals himself now that's negatively affecting everyone.
Yeah, that's crazy, man.
And it wasn't a choice. It wasn't
his choice.
He didn't reveal it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Somebody was like, I figured it out. It's him.
He's
Yeah.
still becoming a superhero in his own right? Like he's still
Yeah.
learning to become a man and stepping up and doing that.
Well,
and
it's
he's
also
doing it.
not like I don't think they'll go with that other conspiracy route because it was Mysterio doing it. It was video footage of Mysterio figuring out, and if he was stopping these things and these drones, you know what I mean? It would make sense that like people would believe it that he's actually Spider-Man. So I think there's a little bit more merit into that. But
Yeah,
I don't know, man.
Well, there's also, I mean, going into the whole conspiracy thing, now they just got to figure out a way to recreate the tech that Mysterio used to prove that Mysterio was actually the
one
bad
doing
guy.
it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that's probably what a good portion of the next movie is going to be,
Well,
is
they
trying to
s-
figure that out.
they still have
The
that.
drones went back.
The drones went back, but MJ still had that projector,
But
And he does.
he's got the glasses.
Yeah.
and he's got
But
the glasses.
the thing
yeah.
is, though, he doesn't know how that worked.
But I mean,
So like, he
they'll
he
figure it
has
out.
the materials.
Yeah,
Exactly. He
they'll
has
figure it
he
out.
has all that projector evidence.
Yeah.
He just doesn't know how to.
Use it at the end of this
I
movie,
think
yeah.
they're not going to try and. I think it's going to be more on the effort of him proving that Spider-Man's not a bad guy than him proving that he's not Spider-Man. I think that's where the main conflict's going to be.
One thing that I thought was cool with like this and Homecoming is that you see the directions of two opposite directions of the villains in there. So with Homecoming, you had the Vulture who refused to give out his identity even though he knew it. He kept it, didn't reveal it, even going to jail and all of that. And now we have Mysterio who took the opposite end, that he was like, I'm going to tell everyone. So you have that, opposites there.
You're a villain connoisseur, Jose.
Yeah.
I'll give you that.
I like my villains.
He
You
loves
do.
his villains.
And Mike Keaton was a great villain. Yeah, so now that we get to our final post-credit, and it's revealed that Nick Fury and Maria Hill were the Skrulls the whole time, but they were working with Nick Fury, who's still in the spaceship up in space, and we don't know exactly what's going on with that. There was some dialogue exchange hinting that maybe the Avengers were really with Nick Fury or just not around because, the Ben Mendelsohn, who sounded awful with those teeth. Is it just me, or did anybody else
No,
it just
it's not.
sounded like you couldn't talk because you have
Yeah.
teeth things in, and it was really, really awkward. I'm like, oh, just voice over that shit. It sounded
Yeah.
so bad. But he's just like, Nick Fury, you got to come back. People keep asking where the Avengers are, and I don't know what to say anymore. And so it made it like somebody explained that to me. I was just like, oh man, maybe everybody's up there with Nick Fury. We just didn't see everybody there. We just saw Nick Fury having a drink and like, where's my shoes?
Unless if they're all out there doing like small little missions and doing things, and it's just like the central
Yeah,
hub.
I want to say I don't think they're on the ship. Speculation is they're gonna, following the comics, they're gonna have him building up Sword, which is basically Shield, but for space protection for the Earth.
Space
there's a lot
Force?
It pretty much
It's
is
a
their
Space
Space
Force.
Force.
Space Force.
It is what it is.
Trump.
I forget it's what it stands for. It's an acronym, but I forget what it stands for. But it's basically outer space protection, especially after what happened with Thanos and Avengers 1 and all of that stuff. You can see Fury leading the charge to create protection against further threats like that.
Yeah,
I can see that. That'd be cool.
so that was the end of Spider-Man. What were you
But
going to say, Minnie?
that reveal that Fury was being portrayed by one of the Skrull brings back something that happened earlier in the movie when Spider-Man's asking Fury where the Avengers are.
Oh yeah, and he
And
says
he asks,
Captain Marvel.
where's Captain Marvel? He's like, don't you dare mention that name again.
Oh
Which
no,
means-
he said it in a different awkward way. Don't not take that name in vain. He said, what did he say? He had
But he sounded pissed off
Yeah.
that Captain Marvel was brought up, which means that somewhere over the past 20, 30 years, Captain Marvel and the Skrull had a falling out.
Oh yeah, probably.
True.
We could see. I could see
I
that.
have to
happening.
remember what he said though.
No, it was almost in the realm like, don't take that name in vain or
Yeah,
something
so
like
it,
that.
it could be something respectful, like
Yeah.
like don't slander her name.
Yeah,
but
so- I
But
don't know.
no, because he wasn't slandering. He was just asking where she was.
Yeah.
yeah,
And
I don't know.
he responded in a very hostile way.
But it could be
About
hostile more like in a defensive way. Like,
No,
don't worry about her.
Yeah, she's always doing what she's supposed
She's
to
doing
do.
what she's supposed to be doing. Don't
Yeah.
like that's the one that he really cares about.
Yeah, well, yeah, kind of like when you're talking. Well, why isn't this person helping? They're doing
Yeah.
what they're supposed. Don't
Exactly.
you dare
Like, don't you
talk.
dare talk about
Yeah,
my
I
fucking
can see
buddy,
that.
man.
Yeah,
Fuck you.
I can
It's
see
like
that. So all right, guys. So that's the end of the movie. So let's just go over the rankings of all the Spider-Man movies. So Jose, you want to go first?
All right, yeah. So I guess for me, it's it's gonna have to be Spider-Verse #1.
Yeah, I think that's safe to say. Are we all Spider-Verse number one?
Spider-Verse.
Yes.
#1. For me personally, #2 will be Homecoming.
Okay.
I hold Homecoming slightly above Far From Home as
Okay.
my #3 because of Keaton. He
Okay.
pushes it over for me. Then it goes Spider-Man 2 out of that. Then goes they go Spider-Man 1, both Amazing Spider-Mans, and then Spider-Man 3 very far last.
Oh yeah. All right, Minnie, where you at?
Spider-Verse.
Spider-Verse?
Far From Home.
Far From Home.
Homecoming.
Okay.
Spider-Man 2.
Okay.
Spider-Man 1.
Yep.
Amazing Spider-Man. Spider-Man 3. And then the second Amazing Spider-Man.
Okay.
I think I think my list is exact same as yours.
Yeah. Go ahead. Yeah.
No, I was just gonna say just because Spider-Man 3 was awful, absolutely, but Amazing Spider-Man 2, Jamie Foxx's
Such a
Electro was
fucking
such a piece
clusterfuck.
of shit
Yeah.
movie.
But
Like the
Venom.
villain, no doubt, but Venom was a small part of it because Sandman wasn't that bad. It was Electro was just god awful.
Yeah,
It looks so Joel Schumacher Batman.
Yeah,
It-
it
it's
was
just-
with Spider-Man 3. It was a bad portrayal of Venom, but Venom wasn't the main antagonist.
Exactly.
Sandman was.
Yeah.
But yeah, for me, you had Venom, and then you had Dancing Spider-Man.
Yeah. I know, right? Just like what the hell.
Sliding on tables.
But hey,
and,
hey, Peter Parker mentioned they did that, and we don't talk about it anymore.
Yeah. In
Yeah,
the
and
Spider-Verse.
I don't know, man. I just Tobey Maguire versus Andrew Garfield. I just didn't really care for Andrew Garfield as Spider-Man. I thought he was the weakest one of the three.
I like Andrew Garfield as Spider-Man.
Yeah,
I thought he
it
was
was
very
his Peter
quippy,
Parker
but his
that-
Peter Parker was awful. But
Yeah.
my,
What
my,
about
my,
yours?
my rankings, I'm almost the same as you guys, except for the last two. Yeah, Spider-Verse, Far From Home, Homecoming, Spider-Man 2, Raimi, Spider-Man 1, Raimi, both THM movies, and then Spider-Man 3. That's where I'm at for all of that. I fucking love. This is my favorite live action Spider-Man.
Mm-hmm.
This is definitely my favorite live action Spider-Man movie. But Spider-Verse, man, is so hard to complete. That was such a great story from beginning to
And
end.
it's not
Yeah.
just on Spider-Man, just superhero movies in general
Yeah.
are going to have competition with
Yeah.
Spider-Verse.
Yeah, and just Spider-Verse, because it's animation, they had an unfair advantage. Because with animation, you could do so many things.
Mm-hmm.
What made Spider-Verse so brilliant was their different usage of animation. You can't do that in live action.
Yeah, that's
so
right.
It just has an advantage.
Awesome. All right, guys. Any final thoughts on our Spider-Man talk for today?
Oh, but we should rank our Spider-Men.
Oh, a Spider-Man. Okay, all right.
And, so-
I'm Tom Holland all the way. I thought he's been my favorite Spider-Man and my favorite Peter Parker. I think he's the best mix between the two. After that, I gotta say, you know what? I actually like Tobey Maguire better than Andrew Garfield. And yeah, but I'm gonna go Tom Holland over Miles Morales from Spider-Verse. I like Tom Holland. Are we gonna get into
I
like
would
the
say live
multiple?
action.
Yeah,
Yeah,
just
just
live
live
action.
action. Live action.
Okay, because I'm like, there's so many. There's Peter B. Parker.
Yeah.
There's Peter Parker. There's Jake Johnson Parker. You know.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm gonna go Holland, Maguire, and then Garfield.
I'm going to have to go Holland. Then I'm going to have to go Garfield just because he was a better Spider-Man.
Yeah, that's true.
And I'm there to watch Spider-Man, not so
Yeah.
much Peter Parker. And then Toby Last, I didn't really like him as Peter Parker or Spider-Man.
You know what? I'm gonna switch it. I'm gonna have the same as you.
I'm pretty sure we're all gonna have that same.
No, I'm gonna defend Toby over Andrew just because a lot of it's tied in with the movies. Andrew's Spider-Man movies were just not good. So if the movies
Yeah.
are not good,
That's
it's hard
true.
for me to like the Spider-Man. So Spider-Man 2 is a really good superhero movie, and Spider-Man 1 was a great origin superhero movie. So by default, Toby's gonna win.
But I think Spider-Man 2, what made it so great is it was carried by Dr. Octopus.
But by Molina, he absolutely he crushed it. But when I look at the Amazing Spider-Man, I don't really have much positive to even talk about the movies. So that's when I look at Tobey Maguire's. I'm gonna watch part 2 and I'm gonna watch part 1 more often than I'm gonna watch Amazing Spider-Man. So
Oh
I'm
man.
the nod.
Yeah,
Maguire's Peter Parker. I always just want to punch in the face.
I mean,
Yeah.
we're in a situation where Robert Downey Jr., when he was first cast as Iron Man, one of the things that he said was, "I'm going to do this role so well that you can't put anyone else in this role."
He said that.
Yeah, He's like that was his
Very
goal
cocky. That was very
because that
good.
was
That was
also
very Tony Stark of him.
Yeah, very
because
was.
that was also his coming back from it because he
Yeah.
had that period where nobody really wanted to work with him,
And it was
then-
hard for them to
yeah,
get
and
him
then Favreau
casted.
pushed for him to be in there, so he was like, "I'm going to do this so well that nobody else can do it but me." Mm-hmm. And we're getting into a situation with Tom Holland where he's doing it so well. You can't really picture anyone else doing it,
Oh, man.
and we've had these failed experiences.
But you know, we had you could say the same thing about Hugh Jackman with Wolverine, and when they got the X-Men, they're going to find somebody else that's going to kill it. But yeah, I hear what you're saying.
Yeah, but here's the thing,
Yeah.
and this is kind of with the Jack Nicholson Joker. There was a couple failed
Mm-hmm.
live action versions of there. Then Heath Ledger did it, but it was very hard for somebody else to come in and do that. And you can. The Joker is a character where you can look at
Who else failed at it? Like who else did in between them?
I don't think there was a
I don't
live
think there
action
was
Joker.
anybody else after him.
right. No, because it was
Because-
Romero, Nicholson,
yeah,
Ledger, and then Leto,
And
who
then Leto, yeah.
completely bombed. But
Who
now,
let us all down?
but the Joker's, I guess, is a bad example because he can be so different.
Yeah.
These are characters where you find an actor, like, it's going to be hard to replace
Yeah.
it. Jackman, Wolverine, we've had him for, 23 years?
Mm-hmm.
He's going to be one where it's going to be interesting to see if the next person can do better
Yeah.
than that. Or
Yeah, well,
if-
we don't have to worry about that for a long time because he's going to be Spider-Man for a long time. So I think it's about time to wrap this up, you guys. Any other final thoughts real quick?
No, they were good.
All right. Thank you guys for listening. If you guys are checking us out on SoundCloud or Spotify, travel over to our YouTube channel at 2 High McFly Productions. You can see our short films, our other reviews, and other content we have on there. You can also reach out on Twitter and Instagram at 2 High McFly Productions if you guys have any questions for us or want us to talk about a movie. Until next time, I'm Kevin Lyons.
Dan the Sangre,
Mike Candelet.
Jose Ramos.
Stay sticky.
Peter Tinglaze.
We like to party.